and welcome back to the new show. I'm your host, Random Rob. I'm trying something a little different with the sound tonight. The videos I've done up till now, I've just been using the sound on my Sony Sports Cam. And while it's good, it's a little thin, so I'm going to see if I can bump it up with this microphone here. The subject for tonight's video is what I've learned from playing over 800 hours of Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5. The short answer to that question is, I don't care about Grand Theft Auto's story. And it doesn't really have to do that much with the writing or the narratives or the characters so much. It's just that I'm not interested in it. And a lot of this has to do with the reliance on cutscenes. As a gamer, I have always felt that cutscenes have always really been filler. When CD-ROM technology came along, the idea was to have filler while the console loaded the game. So you had 10 or 15 seconds or whatever, and you could load some low-resolution video and have something to look at while you were waiting. That's the origin of cutscenes in games. And while the Grand Theft Auto games have, certainly high production values and great voice talent and good writers, I just feel like I prefer the Half-Life 2 approach, where information is delivered to the character in first person, so the characters are talking to you, and these events are triggered by you entering an area or interacting with a certain character. To me, that approach is always more immersive, always works better. Otherwise, a cutscene is a place where, you're playing a game where you have freedom of movement to do most anything you want, but you have to keep stopping to listen to some scripted story about somebody or other, usually so that they can tell you to go to a place on the map, get something, or follow someone, or kill someone, or bring a car to some place, or bring some other vehicle to some other place. And it's just, these missions have been the same now for 20-some years. And just doesn't interest me. I'm kind of a purist about gameplay. I think what games are is the gameplay. And any attempt to spin narratives on top of that by stopping the action to make me watch something, it just never works with me. I always want to skip it. I'm never invested in these stories. Because although they have high production values, they're still rendered with graphics, and it never quite rises to the level of a movie, even though it wants to. I don't care. I don't care. This, of course, leads to the obvious question, well, what the hell have I been doing playing 800 hours in Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5? Running around, stealing cars, running over pedestrians. What I am most interested in Grand Theft Auto is the emergent behaviors that happen with crowds in the game. One of my favorite things to do in Grand Theft Auto 4 would be to get in front of a line of cars, kick the car to get the driver out to fight me, and then run down and just keep hitting every car and trying to get as many people out of the cars and fighting as possible. I think Grand Theft Auto 4 limits you to about 8 people you can do that with. But the fun is when all these characters are trying to punch you and then start punching each other, and then you can have a melee breakout and just completely paralyze an intersection. That's what's fun to me about Grand Theft Auto, especially Grand Theft Auto 4. In Grand Theft Auto 5, they reduced your ability to do that. Most of the drivers will run you over if you try to hold traffic too long. Yeah, so why do I play Grand Theft Auto? I play Grand Theft Auto to mess with the physics, to try to get some interesting crowd behavior. In Grand Theft Auto 5, I love stealing cars and calling the police. Then when they show up, hit their car and get them to follow me into the hood in a gang-controlled area. And if you played the game, you know that as soon as police come into the hood and pull out guns, if there's gang members, they pull out guns, and we'll have a big shootout. What's interesting is these battles are always slanted towards the police. The police always tend to spawn quicker than the gang members. However, if you take a car or truck and position it as a barrier between the police and the gang, you can actually provide cover for them. And in some cases, I've managed to extend shootouts to 10 or 15 minutes doing this. Other things I love doing in Grand Theft Auto 4 would be driving to the Firefly projects and ramming a car into the swing set that launches you into the air. I never get tired of that one. And you're probably saying, wow, you really enjoy doing that for 800 hours? And I'm saying, yes, I do. It's far more interesting to me than the life of crime narratives that they come up with. And just the funny notes of realism that the game will create sometimes. You know, most of the NPCs are programmed if you draw a gun in public, most people either start walking away or running away, possibly screaming or saying, oh my god, or something like that. At one point I was in the Trevor section of the game and went up and pulled a gun on one of the like redneck NPC characters who immediately said, I don't give a shit. I was laughing for like 3 minutes. Sometimes I'll just keep spawning on the street corner outside of the medical center and lobbing Molotov cocktails at the hot dog vendor or the hamburger vendor. And I guess it's when you repeat certain behaviors in the game that sometimes you will see a bit of this self-aware writing pop out that's really funny. In the case of the hot dog vendor, at one point after I think I had killed him 3 or 4 times in a row, the third time I threw a Molotov cocktail at him, he said, next time I'll be ready. And again, it's just, you know, it's funny little Deus Ex Machina moments like that you know, make those games really endearing, not the story. And that's what sort of the you know, my cognitive dissonance with this series is that the emergent gameplay and the crowd behavior is so advanced and interesting, and the stories and the gameplay they build the stories around is so old school and clunky that to me it's always this, like, you know, odd match. I don't think it ever really worked as a game formula. You know, let a narrative-driven game be a narrative-driven game. Let a sandbox be a sandbox, I guess is my opinion. So what about you? Are there any games that you've sunk hundreds of hours into, or maybe you haven't even touched the main campaign? Let me know in the Patreon comments. And feel free, if there's any film or TV or game you'd like to recommend to me to cover as a topic on the show, you can leave me comments on Patreon, you can follow me on Twitter, and contact me that way. Even Facebook. I would love to engage with people who watch this and hear their suggestions. I'm just not going to do it through YouTube's comment system. Alrighty, well, thanks for joining me tonight. I'll see you next time. And yeah, hopefully the world's still here when I record next week. Alright, thanks for watching. Good night.